Um, Hello everyone. Hello. Hee hee, hiya. So I'm Martin Quigley. I'm the community network developer for Scotland. Just to give you a little context, I come from a kind of fundraising background. So I've worked for some excellent national charities such as Marie Curie Cancer Care in Alzheimer's Scotland, as well as some local charities close to where I stay, like the Ayrshire Hospice and Ayrshire Cancer Support. So with this experience, you would think I know what I'm talking about. So hopefully that's the case. So give me a little second, and I will share my screen. Okay, so it's just uploading. Let me know if you can see that. Can I get a thumbs up if you can see that?
Yeah,
Yep,
good.
brilliant, excellent. Right, so okay, so here we are. We are Wednesday, the 11th of May at 12:30. You're joining us today to hear about fundraising at your community events, i.e., your big lunch or any other event that you may have. And it's a part of our Big Lunch and Learn series. So as Laurie had kind of mentioned there, if anyone's got any questions regarding anything throughout, please pop them into the chat box and we can go through them at the end of today's session. Okay, so here I'm going to give you a quick overview of what I'm going to be speaking about. So there will be two parts to my presentation. In the first part, you'll see in the slide what I'm going to cover. So first up is getting started from an early point and then moving on to the two most popular fundraising methods in raffles and silent auctions. Then I'm going to look at some more fundraising ideas that you can possibly apply at your big lunch, as well as touching on some fundraising ideas that involves kids, which could really add some atmosphere. I'm going to go through some really good fundraising in action from previous big lunches, and then I'm going to finish by talking about some fundraising platforms that are very useful. We also have a guest speaker called Perrine who is going to join us from a platform called Action Funder. Okay, so I will just kick off. So, from the local community group to the charity shop on your high street, charities and causes need our help more than ever, and the big lunch can be the perfect opportunity to raise much needed funds. It can also be a great fundraising event for a local cause or your project. You may feel affected, for example, by what's happening in Ukraine, or it could be that you work for a local community hub where all money raised in a day can be spent on improving this hub. Or it could be you have a charity close to home. You have your reasons for fundraising, and it certainly adds to the atmosphere on the big lunch day. So the first thing I would recommend is starting now. The big lunch dates are now only over 3 weeks away, so the earlier you start, the more successful you'll be. Set yourself an early fundraising target, as this will kickstart you into action and also keep you motivated to reach your goals. I would recommend making a to-do list and break everything down into manageable tasks. Call in favours and rope in friends and family if needed. I would also recommend from an early point to approach local companies to help with sponsorship or donations of raffle prizes. So you can ask your chosen charity or project for a letter of authorization if approaching organisations for raffle or auction prizes. So if you don't know, a letter of authorization is a simple letter from your chosen charity to confirm you are indeed fundraising on behalf of them. A lot of businesses like to see proof, and what I've found is if you're putting something into your community, the chances are that local businesses stand to benefit. So don't be shy, get in there as soon as possible. Okay, so slide 4 and 5 touches on silent auctions and raffles, which are the two most commonly used ways to raise funds. Planning and coordination are key to ensure your charity sees the funds in silent auctions, and they're a great way to go about doing this. So silent auctions are an enjoyable and engaging way to raise money. They aren't just fundraisers, they're entertainment for your guests. If you've never dealt with a silent auction in the past, they are essentially a great way to generate plenty of conversations. The silent auction because there's no auctioneer. So, instead, attendees write down their bids silently and compete to see who will go home with the prize by checking their bid throughout the day. So here's how it works. Items for auction are displayed for participants to inspect on Big Lunch Day, often including an item description. In front of each item is a bid sheet where bidders can place their bid silently. Bidders place their bid privately with a bid number, and guests have the option to return to their sheets and up their bid before your big lunch concludes. The bid sheets are collected by organisers, and the highest bid on each sheet is the winning bid, and that person goes home with the item. It's a really popular big lunch fundraiser. Next slide up is raffles. So if you're looking for raffle ideas that can raise a lot of money, here are a few raffle ideas that can be held at your big lunch. So single raffles. You or your big lunch group can request and receive any in-kind gift by connecting with local companies, as I stated earlier. Building community partnerships can benefit you and them in the long run, and you'll find that some businesses can even match fund on final fundraising amounts. So the single raffle it's a nice and straightforward way to go about doing it. A single prize to the winner. You could also go with a 50-50 raffle, which splits the income from raffle ticket sales 50-50 with the winner and you. That means for every £5 spent on a ticket, £2.50 is retained by your big lunch fundraiser and £2.50 is offered as a prize money. The next one could be Facebook raffles. They're a great way to run promotions for your big lunch and pick up additional attendees and fans. They're easy to run on Facebook, but you must abide by requirements Facebook sets. So just a quick note on raffles. So gambling regulations don't apply if raffle tickets are sold in a day and the prizes aren't worth more than £500 in total. If tickets are sold in advance, or your prizes are worth more than £500, you'll need to contact your local council, as you might have to register your raffle as a lottery. I'll be talking more about the rules and regulations in the second part of my presentation. Okay, so we're now into the really fun part of the presentation, which is the fundraising ideas. So you'll probably have your own ideas, but over the years I've been involved with community supporters coming up with an amazing range of traditional and wacky ways to raise funds to support various great causes. So here's just some of them to get you thinking, if you can apply them to your big lunch. Bake Off. Okay, so you could challenge your friends to a bake-off and then sell them on Big Lunch Day to raise money. We've got recipe ideas on our website if you need some inspiration that will be on Padlet after this session. If you need some help or don't think you're quite the baker yet, get in touch with your local shops or bakeries who may just donate some for you. Afternoon tea is always a good one. Get your group of friends together to do a little afternoon tea. You could provide afternoon tea at your big lunch and ask for donations. You can make tickets and sell them before big lunch. Craft making. So if you can knit, sew, or have any other creative skills, unlike me, then why not create some unique items to then sell and help raise funds? Things like big lunch face masks, homemade jewellery like bracelets, necklaces, and earrings make the perfect gift for people to buy on the day. And it just depends if you have the skills or someone in your group who can help out. Just get crafty and get creative and make some money. Bingo. So bingo's been a popular fundraiser on the day. Half the money with your big lunch fundraiser and half to the winner. We all know how bingo works, but in terms of making it successful, you can have a headline prize that has a wow factor and will capture people's imagination. So again, it goes back to seeking out local businesses who would supply prizes in exchange for a mention or a spot of advertising at your big lunch. The basic thing you'll probably need are things like bingo singles. Sounds funny when I say that. Bingo singles, bingo balls, and bingo pages. You can also gather your unwanted toys and books and have a jumbo sale. Simply ask people who are attending your big lunch to bring something to sell that they no longer want. It could be unwanted books, DVDs, watches, toys, whatever. Unfortunately, you can't sell your children on the day. Um, okay, so moving on, more fundraising ideas can include karaoke. Who doesn't love a sing song? Whether you charge for earplugs or entry fee, sing up a storm with your own karaoke evening. The great thing about a karaoke evening is that all you need to do is hire the karaoke equipment, and you are about 90% of the way there. Or even better, you could borrow this from a friend or a neighbour. We all know some wannabe DJ who has all the spare equipment. So you'll need to be prepared to host and encourage people to take part, or enlist the help of a confident friend who can sing to be the front man woman for your evening while you work on collecting money for your charity or project. You will also need to arrange a prize for the best and worst singer on the night or on the day, as this will encourage people to enter regardless of their ability. Okay, quiz. Another good fundraiser could be getting your mates together to organise a quiz, set a price to enter a team. Holding a quiz is quite simple. It's popular and it's a profitable way for making many big lunches to raise funds. They work because they are straightforward to organise and require little equipment. So think about a quiz. Fancy dress day. So I've been working with quite a lot of big lunch task force asking me about fancy dress, and I say definitely. Charge a fiver, for example, and get everyone to come as what they want. The best thing is they're super easy to organise. For a donation, people can come dressed as what they want, and it creates excellent atmosphere for your big lunch. And finally, guess the weight. Um, so this is a simple one but effective. Ask people to donate to guess the weight of a cake, or a jar of sweets. Your cat, it literally could be anything. I'm not condoning animal cruelty here, by the way. But you can invite people to pay to guess how many sweets are in a jar, or even a prize vegetable. Personally, I've lost a lot of money in the past with this one, and it always reminds me when I was a wee boy at gala days in yesteryears. A great fundraiser. Moving on to the next slide, I thought it would be useful to give you some fundraising ideas that get the kids involved, as most of the time children may find big lunches boring, especially the smaller ones. I know my daughter would demand us to leave if it got too boring. A good fundraiser for kids could be treasure hunt, where you could charge a small entry fee to enter. Running a treasure hunt is a fun way to raise fundraising income, and the flexibility of treasure hunts make them suitable for all ages and abilities, but more fun for kids to get involved with their mums, dads, grannies, etc. You can see who could be the first one to spot something at your big lunch, then working as one team or in small groups, help them hunt for and count all the things that you're hiding. You can get people holding your fundraising buckets to dress as pirates to make it feel like a proper treasure hunt. Art attack. So get the kids creative by painting works of art or a massive big lunch collection, all to raise money. You could run an arty competition for all the kids to create artwork based around the big the big lunch. So asking them to draw what they think a big lunch could be. This could either be in the build up to the event or on the day itself. Get the parents to pay an entry fee and let the kids battle out to see who's the most creative. You could even consider auctioning the pieces on the day with all proceeds going to charity. You can also have someone judge the competitors, offering various small prizes for some of the paintings that took part. Another easy fundraiser. Um, so this one I've never done before, but it looks a lot of fun. So the idea is to dust those space hoppers off and ask friends and family to donate per bounce. Who can bounce the furthest? You can decide how, where, and when, and create your own bounce challenge. Get a group together to have a bounce race over 100 metres, or challenge people to guess how many bounces you can achieve in 10 minutes. And finally, you can put on your own Olympics at your big lunch. Simply set an entry prize for each event and award a prize to the winner of each category. Some of the games could include things like setting up a coloured ring toss, or have a hula hoop contest, and you can even play a bit of badminton. Let the games begin, as I say, and raise money whilst doing it. Basically, you can mimic a sports day where you could even throw in an egg and spoon race, and get the adults involved. I'm sure everyone on here has had a shot at the old egg and spoon race over the years and had a laugh while doing it. Okay, so moving on to some fundraising and action slides from previous big lunches held all over the UK. The first one is from one of our fundraisers in Scotland from a few years ago. And I've got to admit, I'm a big fan of the sponge. Throwing wet sponges at people is a very easy fundraiser to organise and will prove a popular stall at your big lunch. So great fundraisers like this, they don't need much explanation. For really successful sponger games, you need to get the right person manning the stalls, a larger than life character who can attract people to have a go, and then another, and so on. These fundraising games need to be topped up, so you could call it something imaginative like Soak the Sucker, or Drown the Drip, or Punish the Principal. Children particularly love it when you strike your mum and dad on the cheek, and you can imagine it can make quite a lot of money in a short space of time. So good old Bob here, taking one on the chin for a good cause. So the next slide is from one of my colleagues, Gronya's niece, where Gronya done the face painting herself and is in her hometown of Waterfoot in County Antrim. For this fundraising idea, you'll need a face paint, brushes, and a volunteer with enough artistic ability to paint designs. Have a flat rate price for face painting and let your customers pick what they want to be painted. You can have a donation jar for the parents that wish to give more to your chosen charity. What we recommend is to buy the face paint yourself and get your teenagers to help out because they absolutely love stuff like this, and you don't need to pay them. So it's exploitation at its best. It's not going to be the standard of a professional face painter, but people will recognise that you're trying to make some money. Ronya actually mentioned to me that this event had absolutely no funding at all, and by the time they had finished advertising it on social media and messaging groups, they had lots of local businesses support in kind for raffle prizes. The key message she mentioned to me is that don't just think about your local shops who all get asked a lot, but you could ask cleaners, painters, and window cleaners all offering services as prizes. Ask anyone and everyone. Okay, so moving on, this may bring you back to your old school days. I've never heard of this one, but Laurie has, and the way it works is there's two lines are made up in each pavement, and the aim of the fundraiser is to see who is the biggest line of coppers, or whoever finishes first, and they're allowed to use 1p, 2p, and 5p's. The losers need to donate the coppers, but you find both winners and losers do. It roughly can raise between 150 to £200. And this fundraising idea would be ideal if you're having a street party that involves all your neighbours. This example is from Neath in Wales. And when the weather's bad, it can also go indoors in a local community hall. It's a simple idea, and I can see how it could work at a big lunch. Okay, so my next slide touches on making fundraising greener. With the Eden Project, we obviously want to be environmentally friendly, and in the past few years, where people have been growing and sharing seeds, this has really exploded. You may have plants in your garden, and people will admire some of them. So why don't you package some of these seeds up and have them ready to sell? Literally, I picked up a tomato plant yesterday. Don't ask me why. Um, when I was walking past my local dog shop in Darvel, and I paid 50p for it. So people will, buy into it on the day. If you don't want to plant swap, you can also donate. There are so many gardening groups out there that we get behind this fundraiser. This photo is from Lindsay's Plant Swap Big Lunch in Cornwall. This could also go well alongside Plant and Share Month, for example, which celebrates growing your own. Currently, we're in this period, which started on the 19th of April and lasts until the 19th of this month, so a really good time to think about this. Our friends Food for Life is calling on the nation to get growing and sharing their produce with their communities. So whether you're a seasoned grower with an allotment or a first time planting seeds in a baked bean tin, everyone can get involved, and you can showcase these at your big lunch celebrations and make a few quid in the process. Okay, so the next slide asks whether or not you want to go big. There are some absolutely huge big lunches that have happened throughout the years, and for context, this will be the 13th big lunch since 2009, where people bring together different groups, including schools, nurseries, and churches, for example, and people fundraise in a lot of fun in different ways. This one raised 6k. So Jackie is in the picture, and she's part of the Eden Project Communities Network in the north of England, and has been organising Preston's Big Lunch in Ashton Park for a number of years, and it's grown every single year. Each year, the city joins neighbourhoods, groups, high streets, towns, and workplaces across the UK to celebrate community, share food, and have fun on the Big Lunch weekend. So, in 2019, for example, the community received the Awards for All grant, and they had a fun fair, a bouncy castle, a 30 metre assault course, live stage acts, food stalls, two bars, a Formula One simulator, laser quest, and all the usual activities you expect at a big lunch. So the weather wasn't its best, but everyone grabbed a brolly and enjoyed the day. At its heart, this is a community event, and had lots of charities, groups, and community projects all having stalls. So think of who you would like to invite to your big lunch. The next slide is Castle Upton in Temple Patrick in Northern Ireland, and they use these grounds every year. It's private grounds and it's open to the public and brings together people from different areas to share and connect. Some of the people here wouldn't have seen one another for donkeys, so it's a lovely way to bring people back together. And if you're building up to a bigger event, it comes a feature in your neighbourhood calendar. People come from all over the place just to be a part of it. So it's not about the money sometimes, it's also about the memories that these connections make. We always say that there is no one size when it comes to fundraising. So if you're going to go big, and if it's too much for you to organise, don't worry. Big lunches come in every shape and size. So my last slide in this part of the webinar is looking at online platforms. When I was working with some of the charities that I mentioned earlier, there was a host of fundraising platforms that we recommended, but almost everyone would pick JustGiving as a result. Platforms like Virgin Money, Everyday Heroes, they have ceased to exist. So I would just recommend sticking to this one. JustGiving is great for a number of reasons you'll see on the screen. So it's super easy. It only takes a minute or two. JustGiving has everything covered. All you have to do is fill in the blanks. Pardon me. It's yours. Bring your page alive. Make it personal. Explain your story and reasons why you have chosen your charity. Um, Post updates, photos, and videos. It's social. JustGiving loves being shared. So you paste your link on your email signature, post on social media, and text people. It's persistent. People don't always get around to donating the first time. So send a follow-up email. This can really work. And remember, on average, 20% of donations are received after the event. Finally, JustGiving is thoughtful. It thanks everyone who donates. They will really appreciate it. Send photos and updates of your completed event to those who donated. You can also think about Facebook fundraisers. So creating a Facebook fundraiser is a great way to raise money, and it's easier to set up than you think. A Facebook fundraiser is also easy for people to donate to. You can use the donate button, which is a simple way to ask for donations. The donate button is a quick way for your supporters to donate to your event without leaving Facebook. You'll be able to add the donate button to your page and post, making it easy for supporters to contribute in a few steps. Ultimately, using fundraising platforms online is so much easier than handling cash and takes away the pressure from people how much they donate. So think about setting one up well in advance of your big lunch. And finally, if you aren't sure who to fundraise for, we've set up a giving page with Iceland Foods Charitable Foundation, who support community causes UK-wide. You can donate directly or set up your own page. We'll have this link also on Padlet if you're unsure of who you want to fundraise. Finally, another fundraising platform you could use is Action Funder, and we have a lovely speaker, Perrine, who is about to jump onto the call and explain what is involved in a second. So that's it. That was a really, really quick breakdown of some past ideas that I have been involved in with various charities. And just so you know, we do have some top tips on our website with some of your frequently asked questions answered, again on Padlet. So I'm now going to stop sharing my screen. Here we go, and hand you to the lovely Perrine, who is going to explain what is involved with Action Funder. Perrine, over to you.
Hi everyone, sorry I was trying to unmute. You'd think I'd be used to it by now, but I guess not. Can you all see my screen just fine? Cool, hello. So I'm Perrine from Action Funder. Thank you so much, Laurie and Martin, for having me here. And as we're all here to talk about fundraising and how to secure funding for projects and events, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Action Funder. So Action Funder is a funding platform that connects businesses who want to distribute funding and all types of nonprofits needing funding for their projects. So it's a really quick, easy and free tool to use to secure funding. And it's suitable for all types of nonprofits, and that goes for registered charities, social enterprises, to small groups of unregistered volunteers as well. So if you are looking for funding for an event or a project that you are running, you can just sign up and use Action Funder as part of your fundraising strategy. So on Action Funder, you'll have businesses and foundations joining the platform and launching funding pots in locations that they want to support with specific focus area, and that will go from climate change and environment to mental health and well-being. And grants usually range from £5,000 to £500 to £5,000. I'm just going to show you quickly. This is what the funds looks like. So it's really simple with a few criteria: the location, what the funder is focusing on, and how much they're ready to give per project. So as a nonprofit, you would sign up and create a profile for your organization. And then based on the information that you add, so that's your location, your focus area, you will receive automatic notifications letting you know that the fund has launched in your area that is suitable for your organization. And then all you have to do is review the criteria and apply directly on the platform by posting your project. And what I mean by project is, for example, if you're a community center, that could be purchasing a new bench for our outdoor space, or that could be the cost to run your food bank over 12 weeks. On the screen here, what you can see is the final and public version of a project. So along with the information on budget and delivery, you also have your pitch, and it's quite short, it's to the point, and you only have to answer 3 questions, which are: what is the need? So the motivation behind the project, what's the solution, and why are you best placed to deliver this project? You also have the possibility to actually do your pitch in the form of a video, if that's a format that you're more comfortable with. And once your project is matched and a funder wants to fund you, you accept the funding offer, get your funding and just deliver your project. And if you're not successful the first time around, your project will stay live on the platform and it will be automatically submitted for funding by Action Funder to any other relevant fund. So actually you don't have to do, one application could be seen by several funders at once. So you don't have to do application over and over again, because we know how time consuming this can be. I just wanted to mention as well that if you are a part of a small group of volunteers and you're unregistered, you will need to have a bank account that's not a personal bank account. But if you don't have one, we're more than happy to help with this and signpost to any organization that can help. And that's pretty much Action Funder in a nutshell. That's quite a lot of information, but we're hosting an event on the 26th of May. That's completely free. It's just a half-hour session to talk a bit more about Action Funder and how you can use it in your fundraising strategy. So do get in touch if you'd like to find out more or come to the events. And on that note, I will pass back to you, Laurie and Martin. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you so much, Perrine. That's really useful. I think it's something that people can use, for all sorts of ways. I guess it's something people could potentially use to help arrange their big lunch as well, if they were looking for funding for their events and community events as well. So that's really good to know. There's lots of real flexibility, lots of options there. So we wanted to share that. Right, we're going to try and break up the call a little bit now. We've given you so much information, Martin. It was so useful, and Perrine, that's really useful. We're going to have short breakout rooms, so you can talk to each other and not listen to us for a few minutes. But yeah, they're probably only going to be about, I put 7 minutes in. And I put some questions. I'm about to put some questions in the chat there. So just as some starting conversation starters there. What sort of fundraising activities have you done before? What have we talked about that you found useful that you might be able to use? And if I click open, you should all get invited to your breakout rooms now. Yeah, so the next session, we're going to go back to Martin, and he's going to share the really useful stuff about making sure your fundraising is safe and legal and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, if you've got any questions, do ask them. He might cover them in the next few minutes. Over to you, Martin.
Cool, thanks Laurie again. So welcome back everyone. Again, I'm just about to share my screen, so give us a couple of minutes while I am stalling here. Part 2, here we go. So again, thumbs up if you can see it. Brilliant, excellent, thank you very much. So yeah, I hope you managed to have a good chat with others about your fundraising ideas, which we'll hopefully discuss soon, or like Laurie had said, pop it into the chat box. But first I'm going to be delivering the second part of my presentation, which is all about how to make the most of your fundraising through the promotion side of things, as well as all the boring bits that you need to keep in mind, such as keeping it safe and keeping it legal. Boring, very boring, but important equally. So I'll spend roughly 10 minutes going through this with you. As with the first part, if you get any questions throughout the presentation, please pop them into the chat box and Laurie will collect these and it will be discussed at the end. Right, okay, so the first part about the promotion is that we should be shouting from the heavens about your fundraising at your big lunch. Tell everybody about it. What I would recommend is contacting the local media a few weeks in advance, as well as putting up posters around your local area, getting it mentioned in your work newsletter or on your company intranet. So the fundamentals that I always say to myself is gaining publicity for your big lunch will help you raise more funds. Whether this is your local paper or local contacts, they'll be interested in your fundraising and why you're doing it, especially if it's a personal story. You could write a press release and include key information such as details about your planned fundraising activity and targets. So we've actually got links to sample press release templates to use if you prefer, and again they should be on Padlet at the end of the session. Okay, so moving on, the do's and the don'ts. In the past, when working with charities, I found it very useful to make a little do's and don'ts column when going about contacting, say, your local paper. So, do's, make sure you contact the right person at each newspaper or radio station who is responsible for stories like yours. Let them know why you're telling them. Do you want them to tell your story or come to your big lunch? Do you need a press photographer to attend? Outline your story and be ready to answer questions. Be helpful and make their job easy. They might want to take a different angle. Be flexible but remain in control. Also direct them to your big lunch Facebook page, website, or even better, your fundraising page. You'll find if a journalist shares your page, you will get a lot of donations from the public. So in terms of don't be afraid to get in touch with the media, but check it's a good time to talk. Don't expect your whole piece to be used word for word. Newspapers and magazines have to edit for space and their own house style. And don't get too downhearted if they don't use your story. Just move on to somewhere else and try again. And finally, don't forget to check their deadlines. The greatest story in the world is no good on a Tuesday if they go to press on a Monday. Okay, so a simple thing that I've been taught in the past is the more you talk about your fundraising, the more people will donate. So make sure you publicise what you're doing as much as possible. Facebook is the best social media outlet, as most people have a Facebook page. So once you've asked your friends to donate, let them know how they can help by sharing your status. And don't be afraid to remind people to sponsor you more than once. You'll find that others will want to help you reach your fundraising target. I would also recommend tagging Eden projects in your Facebook posts. So we've got our central Eden Project communities page, but we've also got regional pages throughout the UK. From our point of view, we want to see lots of photographs of your big lunches, and again, links can be shared after this webinar. So Twitter, tweet, sleep, repeat. I'm reading this out. It sounds like a dance song or something. If you can, tweet right through your event, great. If that's not possible, then let people know what's happened before and after, and include pictures, include your Just Giving link, and don't forget to tweet your chosen charity. So the two other social media sites that I would recommend are WhatsApp and Instagram. I know there's many more out there like Snapchat and TikTok, but I'm going to say that I'm far too old for that kind of nonsense. And but if it benefits you, then please utilize them as much as possible, as they all essentially do the same thing. So in terms of WhatsApp, you're just giving what page works a treat on mobiles. So pepper your WhatsApp groups with your fundraising plans as much as possible. You want to set up a group. So I've been involved in a lot of fundraising WhatsApp groups in the past, and it's a really good way to keep everyone engaged if you want to be involved. There's been so many that I've been involved in recently. Sometimes it's hard to actually keep up. In terms of Instagram, they say a little known fact about Instagram is that every single Instagram filter makes you look incredible when you're fundraising at a big lunch. And I completely agree. On the day, keep plugging your online page, asking for donations. You can remind people if they couldn't make it on the day, they can still donate. Moving on to the next slide, focuses on Nextdoor, who are one of our partners, which is a great and good engagement tool. Nextdoor has been created as a platform for neighbours to connect with each other and share local information, news, and exchange pre-loved items like your couch, for example. During the pandemic, it was also a useful tool for bringing people together and offering a helping hand for people who needed it. As it has grown over the years, Nextdoor now works with local businesses and councils to share useful resources and information to its residents. So Eden Project communities have been working with Nextdoor since its inception, and even helped bring the platform over to the UK, working with them on a piece of research about loneliness amongst neighbours. So we have always had a common goal about bringing communities together. There will be links to this on Padlet after this session. Oh, right, okay. We've now moved on to the really boring part. It was boring even to prepare this. But like I said, I think it's important that we go through it. Some of these things to consider when you're both fundraising and hosting a big lunch. So to begin with, in order to keep your big lunch legal and safe, please follow the guidelines that are in both the government and Institute of Fundraising website. You'll see on this slide there's a link to organising a street party, i.e. your big lunch, that has lots of useful information regarding things like licenses, public collections, music, risk assessments, money handling, filming. So for the purpose of this presentation, I'll go through these very quickly so you have an overview of what you need to be wary of. Again, these links are on Padlet, but I've also included links to the fundraising in England, Wales and Northern Ireland, who is regulated by the fundraising regulator, and links to fundraising in Scotland. So fundraising and regulation in Scotland is slightly different to the system in other parts of the UK, and is subject to Scottish charity law and the Scottish system. Yeah, so I want to say it's constantly changing. So again, there's quite a good blog on Padlet, which Grania had said, one of my colleagues had said that new regulations are coming into play next month. So again, have a wee look at that after the session. So yeah, just to clarify, organising a big lunch for residents and neighbours is very simple, and it doesn't need a licence. Your local council may require you to complete a simple application form to hold, for example, a street party. So You'll be delighted to hear that licenses isn't needed if you're going to provide alcohol free at your event. However, to sell alcohol, you'll need a temporary events notice, which costs roughly around £21, and you can get one from your local council. In terms of prizes, you don't need a license to give alcoholic beverages away as prizes, like a bottle of champagne for a winning raffle ticket, but there are rules about what can be given away. What I would say is get in touch with your council for more information. In terms of food, this can be served and sold up to 11 p.m. Without a license. So if you want to serve or sell it after this time, again, contact your council. But I don't know, I've not came across any big lunches that runs past 11 o'clock. But if this is you and you want to run it throughout the night, please consider this. Public collection. So if you're fundraising on private property, make sure to ask the owner's permission first. In addition, again, full guidelines are available from the Institute of Fundraising website. And finally, music. You don't need a music license, whether the music is live or pre-recorded, as long as your street party is a private party for residents and you haven't advertised the music to make money or attract people. The best way to think about it is your big lunch is the main event and not the entertainment. So people wouldn't pay to see an artist, to come for the big lunch. Oh, right. Oh, I hope you're still with me and not lost the will to live. I'm even, honestly, it's boring myself. So if you're closing a road for your big lunch or seeking a local authority license, it's possible you'll need to arrange public liability cover. Public liability insurance covers against accidental injuries to third parties and damages to property. So even if insurance isn't required, you might want to get covered. Although it's unlikely that something will go wrong, it will be easier to have fun if you know you're covered. Eden Project, we've been working with an insurance company called Creative Risk Solutions to help make purchasing insurance easy and stress-free. And they have arranged specialist insurance for big lunch events at a special rate of £28. As every big lunch is different, if you decide to purchase public liability insurance, it's definitely worth checking your quote and policy to make sure it covers everything you need before you sign off on it. If you're unsure whether you need insurance or not, it can be useful to carry out a simple risk assessment, which will help you identify and assess the risks involved at your event. So it doesn't need to be a complicated task. A hazard is anything that causes harm, and the risk is the chance that someone could be harmed by the hazards, together with an indication of how serious that harm could be. So being involved in so many events over the year, I have completed many risk assessments, but every big lunch is different and it gets you in the right mind frame of knowing exactly what could happen. So I've always found them extremely useful. So we've got standard sample risk assessments, which can be viewed on Padlet. Okay, so this is the last boring slide, I promise. This slide touches on the money side of things and filming consent. Not only is it important that you fund while raising money, but it's also important to make sure that your event or challenge is safe and complies with fundraising law. Money. Advice for handling and counting money at your big lunch is as follows. Where possible, have two people present when money is being counted. Collect cash using a secure container, for example, a sealed container for a collection or a secure cash box for change. And don't forget to bank the money collected as soon as possible and send a cheque or a bank transfer to where it's meant to be going. Film and photos. So if you're taking any photographs or films on Big Lunch Day to share with the general public or any third parties, then you actually must get written or verbal consent from everyone being captured on film. Sorry. An easy way to get around this is to simply print out posters and pin them up at your big lunch so people know photos and films are being taken. I was at an event on Saturday in Dundee and I just asked everyone in the room, 99% of people love their photos to be shared, but always think of that 1%. And again, there is very good content on the subject, which will be shared on Padlet. Oh, yeah. So, and breathe. That's it. We managed to make it through that boring part. So I'm kind of glad you're still with me. Like I said, I literally was nodding off myself there. But please just be considerate of these points going into your big lunch. The guidelines here will help to ensure your fundraising is both legal and safe. However, we also have lots of good content on our website that has been recently refreshed that touches on what we talked about today. So please have a look if you are unsure. And that's really it. Thanks for listening to me. You don't need to be a fully fledged regulator officer, but as some intelligent person once said, it's good to know and it's good to be prepared. So let me stop sharing my screen and I'll pass you back to my colleague Laurie, who will discuss some of the things you chatted about in your breakout rooms.
Amazing. Thank you, Martin. Wow, yeah, that was a lot of information that we've thrown at you, but super, super useful. And I know you said, like, yeah, boring, but important. And it's the stuff that people always ask. Right, great. It sounds like everyone's really in the depth of planning at the moment. So thank you so much for joining the call and for staying with us. I don't think we've got any more questions. If you do have any more questions, do feel free to get in touch with us. You'll find all of our, Martin, myself, and all our team's information on our website under Meet the Team or something like that. So feel free to get in touch if you need anything. And yeah, thank you. Well, I'll send an email with all the link, well, the one link with everything on it. And I hope you found it really useful. But thank you, everyone, and have a good rest of your Wednesday.